Hi, my name is Lauren Humphreys, and my husband and I have done foster care for about 13 years. We have done medical foster care for about 8. We've adopted 6 kids, 4 of whom are medically complex. So we've spent a lot of time in the hospital and a lot of time stuck at home. We've been quarantined in many times, sometimes for months at a time. And so we've spent a lot of time struggling over the things that you are currently struggling with. So we wanted to share some advice, right? Mr. Seth wants to share some advice and some ideas that we have learned. One of my biggest concerns when we started our first quarantine was how my kids would look back at this time. How would they remember what we have done? My biggest concern was would they think of it with a constant sense of fear and isolation? Seems really easy for that to be the thing that they remember. But I wanted them to remember connection and family time and safety, not fear. So how do we give them that? The first thing that we've learned is being open and honest. When my son was 2, he had his kidney transplant, and my girls were 5 and 6. Explaining a kidney transplant and why you have to be quarantined into a 5-year-old seems really overwhelming. But what we did was we broke it down to them. We explained a little bit about the immune system, and we called it their attackers. We talked about how they had healthy attackers, and their brother, who just had a kidney transplant, was taking medicine to get rid of his attackers, so they were not healthy. We explained about how when the germs came, their healthy attackers could attack the germs and get their body from being sick to being healthy again. But if you don't have attackers, you can get very sick very fast. So how do we help him when he doesn't have attackers? Well, we keep the germs away. So I think it's really important to explain to kids the best of their ability that they understand real and honest information. And it's okay to say you don't know. Right now it's hard because we actually don't know when the end of our quarantine is. We don't actually know when we're going back to school. And those are all questions they have. And it's okay to say, we think it's going to be this, or we hope it will be that, or we hope we'll get to do this summer, but we don't know. Those are okay answers. One of the biggest things I think that you can do right now is give yourself grace. This is a hard time period. There are a lot of emotions and a lot of frustrations as we're having to work from home and having kids home and having to do school from home. And the fear and not being able to go out. And the truth is, there are real things that they're missing. There are real things that we're missing. Some kids aren't going to be able to go to graduation or aren't able to go have prom. Those emotions are real. And it's really important to validate those and to accept that we have emotions and we have frustrations and those are real and talk to our kids about them. And when we feel like we are sad about missing something, it's okay to tell them because that gives them the example that they can tell you later when they are upset about missing something. But if you give yourself grace when you feel sad or you have frustrations, you can also teach them as you give them grace too. Oh yeah? For me, that specifically looks like knowing myself. I am really tempted to print out one of those schedules online and to separate our day out into 15-minute segments. But I've learned in the past, and I know myself, that I get easily frustrated when I fail at those type of things. I know that when someone has a dirty diaper and makes a huge mess and we have to change all of the sheets and have a bath in the morning and we miss the first hour and a half of my schedule, by the time I get out there and be ready to work, I'm already frustrated because I feel like I failed. And that makes me snippy. And that's not the way to start my day. So for me, we do better if I make a list of things that I think are important and a list of things that I want them to do, something that we can check down. It still has routine, it still has goals, but I don't feel bad when I spend an hour doing something that I hadn't planned. And that may not work for you, and that's okay. I think it's important to figure out what works for you and works for your kids. And as you are figuring out what works for you, and as you're giving yourself grace, see what you can add in that will add that safety and connection for you and your family. When we went on my son's Make-A-Wish trip, they had one rule there, and that rule was that you have to give everyone, one day while you're there, you have to give everyone dessert for dinner. So we have to go to this fancy ice cream shop that they have and have ice cream for dinner. Well, my kids thought that was the best thing they had ever seen and heard of. And so they've talked about that for years. When we started talking about the quarantine this time, I thought that that would be a fun thing to bring back out. And so we are doing dessert for dinner once a week. And so far we've had it twice. And my kids think it's amazing. It gives them something to look forward to. And in truth, it's not very hard for me, but it is special and it is fun. What are other things that you could do that would bring that connection and fun and special time and give them something to look forward to? You could have, what, a video game night, a board game night, read a book together. Think about something that works for you and something that's special for your family. So I hope that you guys can really think through that and work together what works for you. My biggest thing is just to remember to give myself grace. Give myself grace and give my kids grace as we together go through all of this new and different. And I'm praying that you guys are also able to do that for your family.